I would say at the core of everything when I meet with the project managers, and what has helped me is I always say trust sells. So I say if you can get a client to trust you, and that means you show up, you're on time, you're efficient, you perform, you get the project done. There's not a project they're not willing to give you. And so I try to instill that in the project managers as guys, trust sells. So what does that look like? You know, if you call me and you have an emergency, it's being available. You can trust that you can call me and you can trust that we're gonna have a crew, whether it's the day before, to get to your project. And I think, you know, you have to pick and choose your because obviously you just can't do that for everybody. But I believe that there are core relationships, you know, like us and Wilson and Company. It's a core partnership. It's a core relationship for our company. And so the biggest thing with us is just when it comes to building relationships, is just being available, right? Being available, knowing that, you know, we're going to respond to the need and get the need accomplished. And with all of that, doing it the right way, efficiently and with quality. And I think that establishes a trust. So you can come back to us and say, hey, I've got another one. And hey, I've got another one. And I think you guys are the same with your clients, right? You build that trust with your clientele so that they can continue to give you more work.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Blueprints to Punch List, the healthcare edition. Thank you all for tuning in. I've got myself, Ken Fulmer, Dave over here, Steph, and we've got Joseph. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. Can't complain.
Doing pretty good.
Yeah.
You could. I would listen.
I could.
Yeah.
But I don't.
I hear you there. What do you guys have going on? What's new, Dave? You're headed out of the state here soon? The country? Where are you headed?
The country. I'm out of here.
Awesome.
It's my 40th birthday trip coming up.
Cool.
So we're heading to the Dominican Republic for a couple of nights, five days. So
Awesome.
kid-free vacation. Thanks to my gracious mother-in-law for taking the kids and letting us go. But it's going to be a great time. Just a friend's trip. So
Awesome.
very much looking forward to it.
Well, happy early birthday.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
You guys traveling the world or?
I'm heading to New York City actually for Thanksgiving, about 2 weeks with the family. I'm going to take the week off, but it's about all I got going on. Other than that, it's just work, man.
Cool. Yeah, I just got back, went up to South Carolina, did some golfing, Georgia, did some hunting, and I'm back. So unfortunately, no more traveling for me for the year.
How's the weather up there?
It was rainy, actually. It's funny, they had been in a drought, and then we decided to take a trip up there, and it rains. But it was good, very good. You know, we got some golf in, got some hunting in, so it was good.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. So, Joseph, thank you for coming on our podcast. You have built something pretty cool over there at Renew. Nearly 12 years, spent building a life with your wife, Alexa, your 3 wonderful sons who I've met. They're great.
Yeah.
Very polite young men.
They're a little wild, but yeah.
Started early. Yeah. Started in your early 20s, founded Renew. Painting at the beginning was your main thing. Today, thanks to your vision and dedication, Renew has grown into a fully licensed turnkey finishes company. You guys handle really every phase of the project and bring a lot to the table in terms of not only just the labor side of things, but the expertise when it comes to the flooring, the painting, what needs to happen, what needs to be done, and a lot of relationships that you have, I know personally have helped to get us out of some hot water at times, when lead times were crazy, and even when they're not, being able to kind of get those finishes. So, thank you. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
It's
been a journey.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I've actually been working with Wilson since 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
2019, 2020. I think it was 2019 is when we started together. And it was funny because I think the way we met was you got my number from, I think it was one of the Sherwin-Williams reps.
Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah, and then you called me out of the blue. And you had like these 7 healthcare facilities that needed to get done right away. And I was like, yeah, man, I'll do it. And then it's interesting because I remember I was painting that storage facility. I think it was for for a relative of yours or something like that.
Yeah, my father was developing a storage facility.
Yeah, it's a small world because you had asked for a reference list. I put that down, didn't know you. And it happened to be that I was working for your father, but didn't know your father. He was just a developer that was, so it's pretty interesting how it all kind of worked out. And we got in there and ever since it's been history.
Yeah. So. I knew I could pretty much trust that reference. So, and man, did you perform? So. Yeah. Man, did you perform? So, very cool. We always like to start off with some sort of win, whether it be personal, business, can be in the past week, month, or, I usually have to go back a year to find something. But anything for you as of late?
I would say my biggest win is building critical and quality relationships, and that kind of leads to opportunity. That then leads to our big wins. So yes, we've had a big win in the last 30 days. We did a project, medical facility for you guys. And a lot of times when we take care of the relationship, these opportunities will pop up sporadically, and it definitely is a huge win for us when we can get in, and get the job done.
Awesome.
So I would say that's probably a big win. But yeah.
Subsequently a big win for us.
Yeah.
So, Steph?
So a few projects that we actually wrapped up this weekend, we were using Renew. So we had a project out in El Paso and then one over in Ormond Beach, and both were successfully completed. The space looks amazing and all the center staff are very happy. So.
Awesome.
So Joe, take us back to the beginning, man. 12 years ago, started this entrepreneurial journey. What did you always have this entrepreneurial bug at growing up, like, or what was that like?
The drive was probably always there. So when I was 15 and I needed money, I was asking the neighbor to do a car wash. Like, hey, can I wash your car? Hey, can I cut your grass? So it's kind of like always trying to figuring out a way to do business or to get money, so I didn't have to rely on asking my parents. But I started painting when I was 16, 17 years old. And I started our Renew painting actually when I was 23 at the time. And I started myself. So we started painting homes. I was doing one home a week, and then that grew to 2 homes a week, and then, 3 homes a week. And then I started building out my painting team. And then from there, client was like, hey, can you do drywall repairs? And I had a guy, I don't know if you ever met Donald. He still works with me. He's been with me for about 10 years, but he started doing patch and repairs for me. So that led to a whole drywall thing. And then I think in 2018, I started getting flooring requests, and then, 2023 cabinet requests. And so it's been kind of like this evolution of, we started as painting, and now we've evolved into framing, drywall, flooring, cabinets, and trying to control that whole Division 9 sector. Because it just gives us control in getting the project done quickly and efficiently for everybody. But yeah, so I'd say painting 16, 17 and starting my first painting company in my early 20s and kind of growing it to where it's at today.
Very cool. Yeah. Dave, you don't get to get out of the win though. What's your win?
Oh, my win? So that's where you were coming to me earlier. Right? I got you. So we did get 2 projects that were recently awarded to us from a previous client. So that's always a win when we get those return phone calls and they're nice size build out. So
very cool. Yeah. It seems like you keep getting those repeat clients, which is a good sign. We're built on a lot of that.
Well, and it's really, companies like Joe's that help us get to a level that we want to get to, because we can't do this alone. As GCs, we rely on our trade partners so much that we have to have those relationships in place to be able to get these projects and get these repeat customers, because we're not the ones doing the work. It's Joe and his guys that are out there doing the paint, floor, all these other areas. So my question for you, Joe, was like, how do you think about building relationships? Because that's such a huge part of what we do, and I know it is for you, and specifically maybe with your guys as well, like the crews that you have? What do you do to?
So at the core of everything, so we have about 5 project managers, and then we have probably about 60 or 70 people in the field any given week.
50 to 70?
60 to 70,
60 to 70.
Yeah, people in the field, yeah. I would say at the core of everything, when I meet with the project managers, and what has helped me is I always say trust sells. So I say if you can get a client to trust you, and that means you show up, you're on time, you're efficient, you perform, you get the project done, there's not a project they're not willing to give you. And so I try to instill that in the project managers as guys, trust sells. So what does that look like? You know, if you call me and you have an emergency, it's being available. You can trust that you can call me and you can trust that we're going to have a crew, whether it's the day before, to get to your project. And I think, you know, you have to pick and choose your because obviously you just can't do that for everybody. But I believe that there are core relationships, you know, like us and Wilson and Company. It's a core partnership. It's a core relationship for our company. And so the biggest thing with us is just when it comes to building relationships is just being available, right? Being available, knowing that, you know, we're going to respond to the need and get the need accomplished. And with all of that, doing it the right way, efficiently and with quality. And I think that establishes a trust. So you can come back to us and say, hey, I've got another one. And hey, I've got another one. And I think you guys do the same with your clients, right? You build that trust with your clientele so that they can continue to give you more work. So,
and not only that, but your willingness to travel to, like I said, El Paso for me over the weekend was amazing. And going out to, you know, Kansas, Missouri, South Carolina, a few different places, you know, that does help us as a company to have a trusted vendor that we have, somebody we can rely on, and we know that our clients can be happy with the work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's very important. I think if we're helping any other subs out there, I think that a lot of times bigger companies, they get complacent. And so what happens is, I think schedules are great, but what happens is you can't get too rigid when you're building relationships, because if you get too rigid, you can lose the relationship. And I remember when I came in on the flooring side in 2020 with you, there was a previous contractor there. They weren't meeting the deadline. They weren't, you know, getting the project done. And it just kind of worked out because you needed the project done, you know, and at the end of the day, we were able to kind of provide a support to make that happen, which kind of established that level of trust with you on that particular project. But I think that as you're growing as a company, you want to get big, but you also have to remain small at the same time, meaning that you have to remain fluid in your core relationships. Yeah. So it's having that fluidity to know that there's the personal aspect. If Dave calls me for something that you need, I'm going to respond, do my best to respond. If you call me or Stephanie calls me, it's that kind of maintaining that personal aspect, but also having a bigger company to do the work, you know? Yeah. So it's big and small at the same time.
Yeah. I can personally vouch for the make it happen aspect of you guys, right?
That's the word. Make it happen.
Tested that theory more than a few times. I think
like make it happen, guys. I don't know what you just make it happen, just man. It's got to get done.
Which is big, right? With the clients we serve being in the healthcare industry, right? The speed to market is huge. I know I've touched on it before, but it is a big underlying factor, right? And same with relationships, right? I think relationships are going to be a reoccurring theme on this podcast, right?
Absolutely,
because it's a huge piece.
Yeah, it runs through and through, and the things that always boggles my mind is how are you able to send these guys out of state and get these projects done? Because it's one thing to do it in Florida, right? You can drive, but you can't exactly just check your toolbox and your tool belt to So what do you guys do to make that happen?
So I take the same principle that I use with clients, the whole trust sales concept, building relationships, being fluid, being active and responding to situations, and I take that and I also apply it to the workforce. And so I try to, I can tell you honestly, and I'm not saying this without exaggeration, I probably know at least 45 of the people that work with us on a consistent basis. I probably know every single person's name. Mm-hmm. So if I'm showing up on a project and I see them, I address them by their name. Now I say that, the reason I say that is because I'm trying to get to another point, which is it's loyalty, right? Yeah. People will work for anybody. I mean, it's just the reality. But when you can build a relationship with your workforce. So I have certain key people in our workforce. You guys met Javier. You've met Mateo, who helps me more on an administrative side on scheduling, but Javier is a great flooring installer. Carlos was actually in El Paso. Yep. He's been with us for 5 years. Just a solid guy. I try to reach these people on a personal level. To us, they're just not another number. I've helped Carlos. This is a little out there, but it goes back to the trust aspect. I've helped probably 6 or 7 of our core guys get vehicles, right? Mm-hmm. I've helped them, get a house, right? And that doesn't mean I'm lending them money, but if they need help, they're building credit, they're trying to understand something, we try to help them through that process. So I'm not saying that everybody should be that way. It's just the way we operate. And so that type of loyalty, I can call Javier today and say, hey, I need something to happen over the weekend. And as long as he's free and we can move things around, he'll do it, Mm-hmm. And it goes back to just building that relationship with the people, treating them with respect. I don't yell at them. Just like we're in a partnership, like I consider them my partners. So I treat them as a partnership. I treat them as we're co-heirs. We're doing this thing together. I need you, you need me. And so it's kind of having that same mindset directed towards them, right. and making sure they're all paid on time. Word travels fast, and we have great street credibility when it comes to that. We pay all our guys on time. There's a lot of, subs that come to us like, hey, so-and-so has owed me for a month, or so-and-so has owed me for 2 months. We make sure every 2 weeks, our in-house guys are getting paid. We do bi-weekly payouts. So yeah. That's
big, right? Because it is a choice. You can go just about anywhere and work. The paycheck comes. I know for me, and sounds like for you, that's a big difference maker in what you're able to do with the folks you have. Very cool.
Yeah. So one thing that I'm hearing in this theme that I think our clients don't hear often enough, and really the backstories of the people that are on their job sites. Mm-hmm. Right. Most of the time they're interacting with us. They might show up once or twice, but they don't know Javier or they don't know Carlos, these other guys that they all have stories in. And the fact that, you're sharing this with us, I think is huge to be able to, you get that point across that, yes, they're not just workers on the job site, but they're really people who are doing what they can to bring these projects to life. And I think that's really cool. We don't get to hear that side of the story too often.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think sometimes we lose sight of it, but really it's just people working, right? So the work-life balance has to be there. The understanding that there's people that really drive the ship, right? That get us to our end destination, and being mindful of that and taking care of those people is huge, regardless of what business you're in or what industry you're in.
Right.
Because they have their normal family life, and then a lot of our projects are over the weekend at night. So balancing that out, making sure that they're still, able to have that family life balance is important. And then I appreciate all the fact that you come and work for us and we have these high expectations and you meet them every time.
Yeah, we try to.
And the space is immaculate when they leave. We've had some subs, they work overnight at the place on Monday. We get a few calls, but a lot of the projects that we work with you, we don't have to have those calls. We know we can depend on you guys going to get completed and having the space ready for the client the next morning, and they don't have to show up and move stuff around. It's already back where it was.
No. Yeah, and a lot of that just comes from years of using the same team who've done center wells. A lot of the guys who are working a lot of the guys who are working on I didn't mean to say. No. A lot of the guys who are working on projects for you guys, they've been on other projects. So they've worked with you. Like, for example, we have probably 10 to 15 people that extend all the way back from 2020. Mm-hmm. So when you're calling Stephanie and you have future projects and you need stuff done, they kind of already know the expectation, because they've been there for years. We're not just finding them and throwing them there. They know Wilson and Company. They know the expectation Wilson and Company has, and they know the expectation the clients have. And I say that because, in our circle, like Wilson and Company holds weight. If I'm scheduling a team, I say, hey, this is for our partners, Wilson and Company. This is a Wilson and Company project. They already know the expectation. They know what needs to be done, Yeah,
so. Which is a benefit to the program work, right?
Yeah.
Which is a lot of what we do, right? It's not always stamp and repeat. Obviously, each location has its challenges, has their differences, right? But there's a lot to be said for, okay, we've been here 50 times. We've built for this national healthcare client. We've done these finishes. We've done this stuff. And to be able to, again, achieve that speed to market through our familiarity with the program.
Right.
It's big.
Yeah.
And again, just kind of going back to that point of like our clients trust us, and then we trust our trade partners, right? But then you have to trust your people that are going to go in.
Absolutely.
So it is, somebody that's doing an open remodel clinic, they have personal stuff in their offices and in those healthcare facilities, clinics and whatnot.
Yep.
So for people to be walking around, right, especially construction guys, like that's just a negative connotation to most people. So to have you guys have that trust with your people, and that goes all the way up the chain. So I think that's an important conversation that, I want to make sure that we highlight here, that is why we're able to do what we do. That's why you've been having the success that your company has, is because of, it really does come back to that trust all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Joe, in these occupied remodels, right? Obviously we have a long list of challenges associated with that. From your perspective, right, actually completing the work on site, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges associated with that? And how do you guys deal with that challenge and or mitigate that risk if it is?
Gotcha. So completing a project for an open clinic, so the clinic is functioning. The biggest thing.
Where do we start, right?
Yeah, right.
Just one.
Long list.
Yeah. Listen, I would say the biggest challenge across the board is cleanliness, right? Because here's the thing is 80% of the people that work in, an open clinic, they probably don't know construction, but they know clean.
Right.
So I always tell the guys, listen, if you're in the middle of the project and you're not going to finish or you're going to leave, the only thing that I ask is you leave this place spick, span, clean come Monday morning or come the next morning if it's a Thursday or a Wednesday. Because when people go into the clinic the next day, they don't want to see dust on anything. I mean, that's when heads start rolling, when
emails start to fly.
Exactly. And I've just kind of,
to that point, they have patients that are coming in.
Absolutely.
Right? So they have, and it's not that they don't necessarily want to see it. They don't want to see it, but it's now you got in a healthcare type of a setting, you're seeing, elderly patients who are potentially sick or coming in with other health ailments. So now the last thing you want is drywall dust when you're walking around the clinic. So
exactly. And so like what we drive home is clean. Like clean. Like if the project isn't done, fine, clean. Like make sure the space is clean. We can always come back for a punch. That's not the goal, but at the end of the day, what the facility is going to look for, that's the main challenge. What they're going to look for, the people that work there, is that when they come in that morning, the place is clean. There's no dust flying in the air. They're not breathing in construction debris, none of that. It's clean and it's as if nothing ever happened, even though we're probably working in a back exam room or something like that, So the biggest challenge is definitely keeping the facility clean and driving that home with our in-house team. And one of the things that we've done to mitigate that is we actually have in-house cleaners now. So if it's a weekend project and we know the project is going to be very dirty, usually around 3 or 4 o'clock on a Sunday, I'll send 2 or 3 cleaners. And the reason I do that is because while our techs are great and they can do a general mop, it's just always good to have someone who just cleans because you and I know, like my wife can clean my home better than I can.
Sure.
So it's kind of the same concept. Like, yeah, can the flooring guys clean? Yeah, they can clean.
Right.
But I mean, they're focused on installing flooring, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather have a dedicated cleaner go and clean behind them as a just a sure way to make sure it's going to be ready. And so that's kind of marrying that with, the field techs has kind of been a good way to conquer the challenge. And we're not perfect, but it gets
close,
us there. Yeah,
close.
exactly.
Yeah. No, and for us as project managers, or at least for me, it's a big help, right? Now I'm coordinating one person, right? I'm not coordinating two different people. You guys have the cleaning handled,
right?
And there's some vested interest or skin in the game, right? You guys work for the same team, so your flooring guys are going to pay more attention to the mess they make because their teammates, their team members are the ones that have to clean it up, right?
Right.
And I know for us, a big way in which we try to mitigate that, and I know through working with you is photo documentation, right? It's a lot harder for somebody to walk away from the mess when they have to take a picture of it and send it to the team and showcase that mess, right? So, for us in our experience, pictures and reports, which you guys are great at, are a big way to try and handle that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you have a story though that sticks out, maybe where things didn't go right on a project?
Yeah,
because that does happen.
I have a couple
every once in a while, right?
I would probably say some of the worst ones were probably when we started off, and that's why so I have this term that I've coined. It's called calibrate. I didn't coin it, but it's a word, but I use it for business. It's called calibration.
You get credit now.
It's called calibration. So I try to calibrate, right? Every month, like calibration is, we're tweaking the bit. What can we do better? What can we change? How can we make things better? So I always tell people, like, there's a saying that says fail fast. I heard it somewhere. Don't know who said it first, but I would say when I actually first started working with Ken on some of his projects, we did good generally, but we had our moments where, there's just somehow the cleaning didn't translate to the crew, and Monday morning there's dust and I'm getting an email or I'm getting phone calls or Ken's calling me that morning. Hey dude, the guys left a mess, or they're complaining, and I think that the important thing is taking that and making the change for the future. Right. Mm-hmm. And just taking it like, okay, this has to stop. And so that's kind of what led to the other things that we do now to prevent that from happening. But yes, we've definitely had those painful moments.
Hunters Creek.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but it's tough, right? I think specifically that project in Hunters Creek that we did. Look, we were doing, I think it was 7 or 8 refreshes of occupied clinics simultaneously at a given point. We had 2 months to finish.
Yeah.
Right. And Hunters Creek specifically was all hard tile that we were trying to pull up, mm-hmm. and it created a big mess, and it was certainly a learning curve, but you know, to your point, one that I think you took as a lesson and you improved on, which is apparent in, kind of the work you put forth there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steph, your thoughts? I know you're in and out of these centers with the facilities maintenance requests. So
one of the big things that I like about Renew and using them is when we have a full center replacement. The expectation some of these center admins have is, I've watched DIY, I watched all those shows. They come in over the weekend, it's all done. Well, to a certain extent, a certain square footage is, yes, acceptable to get done over a certain amount of time. But realistically, we set that expectation like this is going to take 2 to 3 weekends, or this is going to take 1 weekend every night in between and the following weekend. Right. And the best part about working with Joe and his team is when we do have those conversations with them, I go through it with Joe first. How much do you think you can get done? Which areas would you start in? Which areas would you finish? If you have to come back for one last day, which rooms are they going to be? Mm-hmm. And following up with that is, even though they get the work completed, they stay. They get a punch list. If there's something wrong to be corrected, they ask and they get it done. Yeah. So I think that's a big, big thing for making sure our clients are satisfied and happy, and building a really good relationship with them, knowing, oh yeah, they worked on our center. Wilson's got a great reputation because they can get the space done on time. We get it completed, we get it clean, and we have that conversation ahead of time. This is what's going to be done this weekend. Mm-hmm. So when they come in, all that space is done, and they know next weekend this space is going to get done. Mm-hmm. So there's clear expectations, and then having the conversation with him to make sure that they have enough time. We build in extra time just in case. Mm-hmm. So if we get done early, it's a win for everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think you brought up a good point. So client expectation, I mean, that's a great point. And, that also helps mitigate some of the challenges you have with doing these refresh projects or build outs or whatever, because when you set the expectation with the client, they kind of, I mean, that's huge in knowing what's going to get done, what's not going to get done, and just establishing that credibility. And yesterday I was with Dave for a project in the Apopka, and that's exactly what he did. We're sitting down and he has the plan, and we have the phasing plan open, and he's going through with the client on the expectation of this is what we're going to do this weekend, this is what we're going to do the following week, this is what we're going to do the following weekend, and sticking to that. So they're aware, right? Yeah. So one of the comments that was made yesterday was, hey, when you come in Monday morning, you may see fresh texture on your walls, right? So if we have the conversation beforehand, it helps mitigate that
email chain,
right? When they come in Monday morning and see texture on the wall, what's going on? They already know what the expectation is,
right.
Right. Even that you can set expectations and people still don't necessarily know what that fully means.
Right.
But it is the more conversations you have with the center administrators, with the owners, and bringing those points home, and just like one of the phasing plans, she's like, oh, can we do the lobby be third or instead of the last phase? Like one is swapping one of the phase, because they know their centers the best.
Mm-hmm.
They know what their expectations are when they have events, when they have doctors that might not be out there, or they're out. So they know the flow of that. But if we just show up and say, all right, it's Friday, 5:00, we're ready to start.
Right. Yep.
And they're like, who are you? What are you doing here?
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's no getting around of that's just a mistake and problem waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And you're gonna survive there?
I don't know. Sorry about that.
It's a first. We haven't lost anyone on the podcast yet. So.
Today might be the first day.
Yeah.
But yeah, the clear communication, the setting expectations are all huge.
Yeah. No, they are definitely.
So what other types of projects that you find that your company is really well suited for? We talked about kind of the after hours, the finishes, but it's a broad range. What's something that maybe, like, if you can have these kinds of projects, those would be ideal for Joe?
I would say that anybody in the finish space loves flooring. Flooring, you're in, you're out. And it's a very profitable piece of margin when you're doing finish work. But I would say what we do that a lot of other companies don't is we've kind of tailored our company to really handle multi-scope projects over one weekend. So let's say you have a wall that needs to be built on a weekend. Like, you only have Saturday, Sunday to do it. That clinic needs to be open on Monday morning with the wall built. I would say that that's where we really shine, because we've kind of tailored the wheelhouse of our company to handle those types of small projects, small to medium-sized projects like that. We can get in, we can frame, drywall, float, finish, and have that thing ready for you Monday morning and clean, and you don't have to worry about it. You're not going to have to call, the frame and drywall guy, and then call the painter, and then get the flooring guy out there, and then make sure cleaners are scheduled for Sunday. We've kind of put it all in our wheelhouse to be able to handle that and give you a turnkey product. So come Monday morning, it's ready to go. And so I'd say a lot of those small projects, we love those. We're in, we're out, and we're on to the next one. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Joe, thanks again for stopping by.
Yeah.
Telling us a little bit more about Renew and how you're able to help in this space. And tell us, where can people find out more about your company?
Yeah, so you can check us out online at renewfl.com. That's renewfl.com. You can also call us at 407-209-6470. I think we have a main line. It's like 855-55 renew or something like that. But yeah, just give us a call. Check out our website. I think all the information's on there. We'd love to assist you with your project if you need help. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, appreciate you inviting me.
Thanks for tuning in.